you wanted the best, you've got the best podcast, the hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hello, Chris Voss here from thechrisvossshow.com. There you go, ladies and gentlemen.
One of the oldest podcasts still broadcasting after nearly 20 years.
20 years? Holy crap. It's more like 16. Anyway, it's almost there. Anyway, guys, we got an amazing show with us we're putting on for you today with an amazing young man and his author, and we are even joined by his son, who's making his premiere appearance on a podcast, and he's very young. So we've got a dual guest setup today. But, you know, the beautiful part is if the show keeps on going and you guys refer the show to your family, friends, and relatives, he'll be able to see himself on the show 10 years from now or 20 years when he grows up from being a young boy. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, linkedin.com/Chris Voss, youtube.com/Chris Voss, and all those crazy places on the internet. And yes, I'm using small, cute children to get people to recruit for the show. We sunk to a new low, I guess. I don't know. Opinions expressed by guests on the podcast are solely their own and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the host or the Chris Voss Show. Some guests of the show may be advertising on the podcast, but it is not an endorsement or review of any kind. He's the author of the latest book to come out October 11th, 2024, called Legends of Dabi, Volume 1, by his pen name, DoDeHi. DoDeHi, I think it is.
Yeah, DoDeHi.
DoDeHi. And we're going to be talking with Dorian Hill, who's the name behind that pen name that you can find on Amazon. And we're going to get into it and some of his insights, his books, what he wrote it, and how maybe it can improve your life. Dorian was born and raised in Southfield, Michigan. As a child, he had an amazing imagination to escape his harsh reality by being bedridden due to his chronic illness that inspired him to do what only his body could manage, and that was to create fantasy and dramatic storytelling. Now, as a healthy adult, he dreamed of seeing his storytelling published and inspiring his readers for the same sense of thrilling escape from reality he did as a child. Welcome to the show, Dorian. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you. Very excited. I know we've tried to have this interview, but, you know, with family, this little one, it's kind of hard to get the scheduled podcast, but definitely was long waited and very excited for it.
Well, let's introduce the audience to your son. It was Dominic, I think. And how old is he?
He is going to be 5 months on the 30th.
Woo! Brand new, right off the line.
Brand new. He's chill right now, but when I didn't pick him up, he was fussing, and I was afraid that he was gonna cause some background noise, some issues, some distractions. So I figured pick him up. Maybe he'll be calm, and so far he's pretty chill.
Yeah, he's been chill. When I came in, he was asleep, and I'm like, I usually put people to sleep when they're on the podcast, not before. Yeah. So give us .com's website, social media, any place that you want people to find you on the interwebs.
Wow. So yeah, this is my my very first podcast. So all of this is very new territory for me. So I have some cards that I've been giving out, which I don't have right now in front of me. But as of right now, the book can be purchased on amzn.to, Legend of Dabi. I'm still getting things put into place when it comes to the social medias. I'm currently developing a trailer with some AI teamwork in the background. But as of right now, that's where I can advertise the book as of right now.
So give us a 30,000 overview. What's inside this book?
So this book, when I wrote this book, this is a young hero that's starting in a place called Eden. And throughout this series, he's going to be kind of going through some problems, some challenges that's going to be moving him from many different locations of the series. And the first book installment is going to be taking place in a land called Eden. But without giving out any spoilers, Dabi is going to be exploring some foreign territory, so to speak, new languages, new cultures. And this is kind of a hero that he's going to be discovering that his roots is going to be taking him in many different places of the world.
Hmm. And so the opening scene with him finds him lifting the sacred stone that feels both epic and symbolic in depth. And what does that moment say about his character and the larger themes of sacrifice and destiny in some of the things you flesh out in I believe Eden? Where's that at?
Yeah, so Eden obviously is very just very it's fictional, but I chose Eden because just my faith and background. I'm a Christian man. I believe in the themes and the history of the Bible, and so Eden was pretty much the beginning in Genesis, and so I thought that was appropriate to choose Eden as kind of the beginning of my story. So Eden's a just fictional place. I wrote Eden as of this point as this part in the story, very influenced by Native American inspiration. I respect the Native American culture. Dabi, I've written him to be of kind of a Native American homage to respect it, and there's a lot of themes there. And then there's a battle between in Eden that's taking place of kind of these biases, as I call these characters like Dabi. They have these eyes like the sun, and they're going against kind of a civil war with these different humanoid creatures called the dogs of Eden, and their eyes are the moon, and they look just like the moon, and there's this conflict. And the opening scene regarding Dabi holding that stone, and the stone, I had it symbolized to look like Earth because it's to kind of center Dabi to be the focus, that he's going to be the main character, and that him struggling holding this stone it's a symbolic way of saying that the burden of the world is going to be in his hands.
The burden of the world. And so with that, the mythology of Eden, you have totems, a great spirit, spiritual curses. How did you build the belief system? What inspired it?
Well, it's always fun to dabble in the supernatural and superstitions. And sometimes superstitions can have some truth to it, but sometimes some superstitions can just kind of have someone kind of going in circles here. And that's kind of Nate Dabi's kind of culture. They kind of really are heavy on the superstitions of the world. And he's trying to really find the truth of how he kind of fix the world's problems. And when he's going to find out that, despite that, his culture, the totems and things like that, he's going to discover that these things are not leading him anywhere. And he's going to have to find a hard truth that's not going to be superstitious. He's going to have to end up finding a hard truth that's going to be a really hard pill to swallow when he is navigating through the purpose of his life yeah.
So with him, you have powerful contrast between him and his father Abraham and what you call the overseer. Tell us about these people and how they reflect on your ideas of faith, duty, and rebellion.
Yeah, so Abraham is Dabi's father. Abraham is a very well respected sheriff in Eden. He is all about the law, whether it's right or wrong. But if it's the law, he is kind of the standard of what is lawful and what everyone should strive for. But the overseer, Abraham, he represents the law. He's kind of the standard of Eden, what's required of the people, the civilization there. And whether or not he knows what's morally right, he has to obey the law, whether or not it can harm the people of Eden, the citizens there. The overseer, even though I'm still fleshing out his character because this is still just a volume one. So the overseer, and I wrote him as the overseer because he still kind of have him in that still mysterious place in this point in the story, before his big reveal, the name drop. But the overseer, he is self-aware that his people are very superstitious, and just like life, sometimes someone who knows when you need something. They can be deceptive about it, and knowing they present things to you thinking that it's going to be something that will help you, but it's definitely going to harm you. And he's not doing anything illegal, but he's definitely doing things that is not moral. And Dabi, on the other hand, though, even though he's coming from a household with his father's very well respected sheriff, Dabi is very more so on the moral aspect. And sometimes, though, Dabi being more of a moral character of the book, it can still lead to that. There can be some conflict with the law, and therefore that even though Dabi, I'm writing him to be the hero, doing the very moral, heroic things, he's going to start having these issues that will make him kind of look like an outlaw because his morality is going to be going against what is lawful. And that was kind of the contrast between all three of them.
Well, there you go. So you mentioned you had chronic illness when you were a child, and these help shape some of these stories and help you start writing. What's the tell us about what that experience was like growing up.
Wow, yeah, guys. So growing up with Crohn's back in 1997, when that illness disease was not very well documented or studied, my childhood was very low appetite, no energy, just no energy to do anything. The only thing that I could do was stay on the honor roll, was do my homework, my Game Boy, and then my writing. And not being able to experience a lot of what the kids at my age at that time were able to do at a healthy interaction with other kids, it kind of forced me into a place where I would have to create these stories. Sometimes I would have to live vicariously through my cousins who are at their same age and sometimes their experiences. And then, with my wild imaginations, when you incorporate video games at when I was a young kid, then these stories just start to unravel in my head. And then the next thing you know, I'm writing stories and I'm fantasizing, I'm living out these things and these characters, and I'm acting out voices and dialogue and places and drama in my own head. And it was a nice relief for me.
Oh yeah, I mean, it
Yep.
totally sounds like it. You could, find another world and live in it and enjoy it and everything else. What was the most challenging part of bringing your world of Eden to life? The plot, the characters, or the message?
Wow. If I had to say the hardest thing, even though I love to write, one of the hardest thing is trying to write a whole story from scratch. That is difficult. Trying to write the place, the timing, the dialogue, their storylines, trying to create all of that from scratch in of itself is is very tough to kind of get me out of that writer's block, if you will. Kind of, I've had lots of time of writing sticky notes down. I will have like bits and pieces of stuff that I've written. Sometimes it will be 5 years ago or a year ago, and then I would revisit these things. And then over time, over the years, I would say, because Legend of Dabi didn't start off just right off the top of my head when we started writing. It came with a collection of writer's block and years of constantly, writing down ideas and storylines and plots, and then over time, when you revisit those things, those ideas, it's like, wow, there might be a story here. And
Yeah.
then, but that would say that was the hardest part, though. I mean, to try to create like I said, create a whole storyline. That's very tough. It's not easy.
Oh yeah. Well, you spent many years developing it and things like that, so
Mhm.
that's quite a feat, and of course brought it to fruition, as it were. Now? This is named Volume 1. Is there a continuation of this series?
Actually, yes, I'm currently writing the second volume. This one's going to be much bigger, yeah, much bigger, much more in depth to the flesh out characters. Volume one is definitely, as readers who would choose to read that, will definitely know that it's definitely a very foundational book. It's very establishing the culture, the characters' names. I felt that writing something a little bit smaller would kind of wouldn't be so overwhelming, especially for me.
Mhm.
As a writer, it wouldn't be so overwhelming. But the first volume is just it's just like an introduction of this world that this big world I'm creating. And then now the second book, now that I've got the foundation out the way, the second book is now going to start really fleshing out these characters, fleshing out the culture, fleshing out the drama. It's just really in depth, just a really in depth storyline going to the second one.
So, do you see a series of this book? Like, is it a trilogy, or is it just maybe an endless, open-ended
So
series?
yeah, to answer that question, maybe to give the audience an idea. So growing up, I was a big fan of anime. And I don't know if they're still around at this time, but I love the Shonen Jump series where my mother had gave me a subscription, and once a month I always get a Shonen Jump book, and it's always a constant continuation of the different stories of the animes that I would read,
Mhm.
and that kind of gave me an idea. And but yeah, so I'm continuing. So right now it's open ended, and right now, on top of my head, if I had to like give a number, I want to say at least 10 volumes, at least.
Wow.
I have it's a big storyline, and like I said in the beginning, that Eden is just the first place where Dabi, and without spoiling anything, but literally the world of Legend of Dabi series is really going to expand to different different humanoid characters, very imagination type characters, different character features. I have a very colorful imagination. So it's very and with an imagination like that, stories can just go on and on. But at the same time, though, keep it very interesting.
Well, this will be exciting to see the story unfold, and what a great way for maybe lesson for people that are young and maybe have ailments or issues, or maybe they just feel isolated. Writing is a great way to, tell stories and build scenarios, and we all imagination is healthy and fantasy is healthy, where you can, imagine different worlds, and maybe you can imagine a business someday, or it really helps develop that muscle. The world of Eden seems to balance on light and darkness, both literally and morally. What sort of message were you trying to share about good and evil there?
Yeah, those things were when I was writing that. I was thinking of, buddy. When I was thinking of writing that, I was writing Dabby and his pretty much his journey on becoming a hero. And when I was thinking of the light sometimes being the darkness, because sometimes those things can contradict each other, because sometimes, for Dabby being a hero, it might seem like a path of darkness, but he's going through a path of heroism. But and then like for the overseer, he's promising this light, but it's actually just bringing more darkness. And then that's when I was writing that. I mean, and kind of like my own life, a lot of that was influenced my own life, thinking that my when I was a kid, being sick, and being having all these surgeries, you think, okay, these are bad for you, but these things made me a very strong man to this day. And at first, back then, it looked like it was nothing but darkness, but that darkness was that I thought it was actually a light for me. And so
Mm.
um, when I wrote those themes, it was pretty much just to send the message that sometimes the hardest decisions that is right for you may seem like a dark decision, but will end up being a very light decision for you.
Ah, a little bit of good and evil, light and darkness, and all sorts of good things that way. You talk about his relationship, the character in the book, with his parents that reveal about generational struggles and finding one's purpose. What made you want to write about that and flesh that out in the book?
Well, I think we can all agree that, when we grew up in our households, parents expect something of us. And
Mm.
there's a lot of pressure when it comes to that, especially when we coming from parents or even siblings that have
Mhm.
achieved some level of status. And for Dabby, that is his case. As I mentioned, his father is a sheriff, very well respected. In the next series to come, when I flesh out his brother, he's a very well respected musician. He is kind of he's kind of the encouragement of Eden. And then the mother, she's a veterinarian. She takes care of the wildlife. The natives in the book, they love their animals. They love their forests. And now for Dabi, so these are very three high status individuals in his household. And the struggles and the pressure for him is, where do I, being the youngest in the family, where those are big shoes to fill. And that it's going to apply some pressure again. That's one of the pressures that he's going to endure in the story, because his role in the story is going to be called to something greater, but it's definitely not going to be a path that he's going to be taking that's going to really represent that or show that to the family, and that's going to really hurt his name as of right now, what he's going to endure.
Oh, well, it sounds like an amazing story, and what a journey to come out of your childhood and some of the issues we have. It probably gave you a lot of positive motivation to eventually maybe write this story or get you through what you were suffering through as a child and help you see the other side and get better. Maybe. Did it?
It did. Not to be morbid, but doctors, their prognosis years ago, gosh, when way before I was even 15, there was a lot of bad outcomes that they told me I was supposed to experience, but obviously didn't experience that. I'm now a 33-year-old man. I'm married, and I have, obviously a baby here, and now, plus my first book. So, but I'm sorry, but yes,
No, you're fine. He's great.
Yeah, I just got, man, he's tired sitting on one lap, man, moving on the other lap. But yeah, to answer the question, I think I answered your question. He distracted me for a hot second there.
Yeah. So as we go out, give people a final pitch to pick up your book and any .coms you want people to find you on the interwebs.
There's you can follow me on DorianHillBooks.com. That's DORIANHILL books.com. That is the official website that I have at this time. So again, social medias are coming out now. I have a big trailer coming out by the beginning of January. Lots of AI illustrations to advertise the book. So right now I'm still in getting my grounding there when it comes to social medias. But right now, anyone who's willing to leave a comment or review or any suggestions, or review the book, it can be very helpful on Amazon. Right when you go into it to choose to purchase the Legend of Dabi, you can go ahead, and if I can reach out to those in the comment section there, and then we can, like I said, we can just trying to get the fan base going. Right now, this is where we're at.
And you just got to build up the fan base and all that good stuff, and off you go. Well, it's been fun to have you and Dominic, I think it was, on the show.
Thanь you, Chris. Sorry about those interruptions, my friend.
Oh, no problem. We'll edit it in the final and get it taken care of there. And debut performance there from Dominic. And hopefully the show will be around 10, 20 years from now, which I think it will. We did 16 already, so another 16 shouldn't be that hard. As long as I don't get run over by a bus, that's the main thing. I got to avoid buses at all costs.
Yeah.
I never go near buses. I have a fear of phobia of bus. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just making up stuff for jokes. Anyway, thank you very much for coming on the show. We certainly appreciate it. Legend of Dabi, check it out. Volume 1 out October 11th, 2024. You can watch for the future books that will come forth. Thanks for tuning in. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you guys next time.
You've been listening to the most amazing, intelligent podcast ever made to improve your brain and your life. Warning, consuming too much of the Chris Voss Show podcast can lead to people thinking you're smarter, younger, and irresistible sexy. Consume in regularly moderated amounts. Consult a doctor for any resulting brain bleed.
All right, we're back, and thanks